fast forward a few weeks, I've moved into the developer role and got through training, and it has become apparent that Ash does not have the capacity to make this because there's other things he needs to work on. He can support it, he can help in like a supporting role, but he does not have capacity to make it. Another developer needs to be put on this project. There is only one developer free. It is the developer that designed it. So they gave a tentpole project to their brand new junior developer, which is not something you should really do. And yeah, so there I was as a junior developer working on the biggest quest that All's ever done at the time. Really, only like we'd done by then we'd done a couple more. We'd done a couple of novice quests, but they were kind of cheating a bit. You know, one of them was turning a holiday event into a bloody quest, and a couple of the small little things here and there, including a couple I actually made in my like personal development time. I actually ended up making a couple of small ones for Corrend as well. So they were actually technically the first quests I launched, even if not the first ones I actually designed. But for all intents and purposes, like the first big one since Monkey Madness 2, and they're trusting it with the junior developer, and it really probably shouldn't have worked, but somehow amazingly it launched, and it's kind of awkward now because now that was always what sort of like kick-started it all. After that, that sort of like obviously it wasn't until like many years later when I actually became senior narrative designer. That was only happened this year, very recent addition of like title change. But to be honest, from that point on, it was all like general consensus from both Jagex and from a player base that Ed is now the lore guy, and he does quests. And yeah, it all came from this situation that really probably should never have happened. Like a junior QA probably shouldn't have been designing a big Grandmaster quest. They probably shouldn't have been developing it as their first project. So normally when we have new developers, their first projects are like holiday events and stuff like that. We start off with something small, and that's what I was meant to be given. It was meant to be a more experienced dev taking this, but the availability was not there. So it got given to me, and then I had to go on stage at RuneFest and announce it.
That was awesome, by the way. Awesome presentation. I still remember that.
Like that day, just absolute insanity. Because my experience with the community up to that point was as the awkward ginger guy on the Q&A, because obviously everyone immediately picks out the hair color more than anything else. Like, oh, is that fucking? It's a mini boaty, dinghy, as people would sometimes say. Uh, And then it's like, okay, well now you've got to go on stage and just talk about Dragon Slayer 2. It's like, okay, but I'm not good at that sort of thing. I mean, probably none of us are really. Let's be honest, we're all fucking nerds. We make video games for a bloody living. I don't do talking on stage in front of 1,000 people. Um, that day was sort of like the big sort of like point where it's sort of like the response on that day was so phenomenal. There's so many people saying all these amazing things. So like, wow, that was amazing. I'm so excited for this. It's like, fuck, got to actually make it now and like
Yep.
have to make it good. Like it has to be good. And some things just have not changed at all. The stuff we were talking about earlier, sort of like that feeling I had about Desert Treasure 2. Like I remember like mere like last week's development on Dragon Slayer 2, we're sat there like, holy, this quest is shit. We've made a terrible quest. What are we doing? We don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, why am I doing this? I don't know. I'm not an experienced game designer or writer. A few months ago I was in QA, and a few months before that I was at university. Like, this is terrible. We've made something absolutely terrible. Everyone's gonna hate it. Oh god, it's awful. And then it launched and everyone loved it mostly. We had a fun few like first days, everyone ripping a Vorkast drop table to shreds, but on the whole, everyone absolutely loved it. And then yeah, from there it's sort of like, well, that's Ed making quests from here on out.